in this podcast episode, I have my nephew that we're going to come on. We're going to talk about some meaningful conversation. But remember, in the Power of Team Will podcast, I try to give you the best 30 minutes possible. So I'm hoping that this last 30 minutes, if it goes over 30 minutes, I'm gonna cut it into multiple different segments. So you can digest it a little bit easy. So once again, welcome back to the Power Team Will podcast. I'm your host, and I have a special guest here. Who's my guest?
My name is Jaquan Fripp, and
So yeah, go ahead.
I am the guest on Team Well podcast today. I'm happy and proud to be here today.
Yeah. So before we start, you know, let's talk a little bit about yourself. Tell us how old are you? Born, raised, all that type of stuff. Just something small about you. You ain't gotta go in.
Well, I am 25 years old.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Port Royal, South Carolina. I am a community, activist. I am a motivational speaker, uh, a minister. So I'm very known in the community. I just like to, be a part of the community and help the community, especially the youth. I have a youth group called Boys to Men. So yeah, that's just a little bit about myself.
Okay. How long you been doing the Boys and Men youth group?
Uh, February 22nd, which is next month, it'll be 3 years since I had that group. So since I've been doing the mentoring group, so it'll be 3 years in February.
Mm. So I would like to say, I don't know if I know you probably heard this before, but I'm gonna say it again, and this is gonna be in recording. So I would like to say I'm proud of what you're doing. I support what you're doing. I've always supported, try to support where I can of what you're doing. Anytime I'm in town and you speaking, I'm showing up.
Right,
I like to hear you get up there and, try to speak to the soul of people and try to give that best version of themselves. And I tell you, just for me, I appreciate you doing that. It takes confidence. A lot of people scared to get up there and talk, but
right.
but you do it, and I could say that I'm proud that you're doing it. I want you to keep doing it. Keep trying to motivate the youth to be a better version of yourself as possible. I just want to tell you, I'm super proud and I'm thankful. I'm
Uh,
thankful. I'm thankful to have met you, and the reason I say that because it brings me into my topic. What is our topic we talking about today? We're gonna talk about the meaning of love. And before we go into this, let me ask you: do you want to go off West Webster's definition first, or should we give our own personal opinion on what love is? Should we want to see what the definitions say first? What do you want to go with?
let's go off. Let's go off of Webster.
So let's look at Webster. I'm glad you said that. So let's look at Webster. So so if you we're looking at the definition of love. So right here it says love one of two. It has a noun and it also has it described as a verb. And some of the things that talk about strong affection for another out of kinship or personal ties, just family members. It talks about maternal love for a child, attractiveness based on sexual desire, affection, tenderness felt by lovers, affection based on admiration, common interest, the assurance of affection, warmth, enthusiasm, devotion, love of sea. The objectives of attachment, devotion to admiration, the love for like a sport or something like that, unselfishness, loyal, beloved, concern for the good of others, the fatherly concern of God for humanity, what is that? Humankind.
Humanity.
Humankind, brotherly concern for others, the person's love affair, sexual embrace, and then we go to verb. We talk about to hold dear, the the feel a lover's passion, devotion of tenderness for careness, a fond. Yeah, got it, got it, got it, got it. to like or desire actively, liking pleasure in, love to play the violin, to thrive in, all these different types of things. The feel, affection of desire. So it's different ways that we can use a phrase the word love. So there's a bunch of different ways we can talk about it or where we can discuss it so we have a working base knowledge of idea of how we're going to apply it in our conversation. So we look at the definition, but talk about me and you. What do you think love means? We seen the definition. Let's can you put it into your own words?
I simply think love is a strong mutual honest bond between two human beings.
That's kind of I don't know. I don't know. That's kind of hard to understand that one. You said
Like
say that again. Say that again.
I think love, just in my opinion, I think
Okay.
love is a strong bond between something. It could be a human being, it could be a thing, it could even be like a food or something you're interested in. I just think it's something strong and it's a connection between yourself.
Another thing? Or no?
Yes.
So does the other thing have to do something in order to love? Because you say a bond between two. So two have to do this thing for it to be love, or is love just only applied from me to that person, or it has to be between both?
No, I just think from me to that person or me to that thing.
Mm. So you have to love that person.
Right. Like it's just something that I feel like the connection and the bond that I feel between that person or
Mm.
that thing.
All right, we're gonna try to break it down. Well, so let me ask you, if I have a different interpretation of like when we talk about love, are we talking about let's talk about it in the sense of relationships.
Okay.
How do you develop how do you take love between relationships? Do you think it's just one-sided or does it has to be two-sided?
It could be one sided, but it should be two sided.
Mm,
And I think that's why a lot of relationships fail at because one person love it and that's what I ten the other person just either like being around that person or see what they can use or get. But I think when it's two people that love in a relationship, then that's when more than just love comes in that. Because if you're in a relationship and you love somebody, you're gonna be honest, you're
you
gonna
gonna be
be
honest?
loyal, and you're gonna respect them. Because you can't say you love something and you don't respect it
Mm.
and be loyal to it.
Well, so let me ask this question though. Well, I'm just thought I think I think I honestly think love is transactional, meaning
Mm.
that you have to do something to me for me to feel love by you. Like for me to say I love you, that means something you have been doing to make me feel that. Like I like in a relationship. When I'm talking about a relationship, I'm either talking about a father-son relationship. I think so. I think a mother-daughter or a spouse relationship because I think even with children, like I can say I love my child, but if my child's not loving me back, how because that's why I said it's transactional.
Right.
I give birth to you, but everything that you do is evil. Maybe I don't love you, or you don't love me. How can you
But you
love how can you love something? How can you love something that does harm by you?
okay? That's a good comparison. Well, that's a good argument because just think about it. Parents love their kids rather they do good or rather they do bad.
Bullshit. I ain't going with that one. Fuck that. My language.
Like, okay, for instance, I hear it all the time.
Hmm.
Like, because of like it goes back to the kids that I mentor, right? I
Hmm.
check on them, I have assistance with their parents, so I can find out what's going on with them. One parent told me, "Oh, I'm gonna love my child regardless, whether they do good in the world or they do it bad." So that's why I was saying, like,
Well, just because they tell you that, don't mean that it's true.
right, they don't,
It don't like so. I'm having a hard time only because like I guess if I'm gonna sit up here, I'm gonna bring this up. And I'm bringing this up, and I guess you're right. A strong affection for one another, out of kinship, personal ties, and stuff, um,
uh-huh,
warmth. But everything that is described in the word love seems to be passionate. It all seems to be something good,
right,
and I guess you're right. I can love somebody. I guess I can love somebody despite how bad they do, and I guess in that child relationships, whether they're good or bad. But I don't know if that's love. It's more or less responsibility. You know,
mm,
I think it ends up becoming a responsibility, like because some kids, it's like I'm more tied to the responsibility that I'm inherently given as a child, but that don't mean I love you.
that makes sense.
Because I like all the heartache and stuff that you put me through. It's like, how can I guess I'm just talking about it out loud. Maybe I don't know. I'm just talking about it. That's what we're here for, conversation. I'm just talking about it out loud. I don't know. Because like I guess it'd be like the way you grow up or something like that. Because
Right,
I just I've always recalled when somebody was like they love you or they love me, it always came with something of hurt. Like
right,
it hurt me. I couldn't process the word I love you and you hurt me.
right.
As a child, I never could.
Because love's not supposed to
Now,
hurt.
yeah, so as an adult, it's hard for me to do that with kids. It's like when you if you love me, there's that, like I said, there's the goodness that you're doing by me for me. But if that's not what you're doing, maybe it's that responsibility that I don't know. I'm just asking. What do you think?
I also think that love and guilt run hand in hand. And the reason why I say that is if somebody does something to you, they say, I love you. But if they do something wrong to you, then they'll try to do something out of guilt. Like if somebody do something wrong to you and they give you something or they do something for you, they think because they say, "Oh, I love you," that's supposed to make up for what they did. But also, like we just said, love is not supposed to hurt. So you keep doing the same thing over and over to me, I'm not going to think you love me because, like I said, you don't hurt something you love. You don't disrespect something that you love.
Well, uh, well, this is old school saying that we have, or I had. I don't know if it happened to you. This is gonna hurt me more than
More than
it
it hurts you.
hurts you.
I say that all the time.
But is that? But should we really be saying that then?
We
If
shouldn't
love,
though.
because love ain't supposed to hurt.
It's not supposed to hurt.
So when you mess up, I ain't supposed to get that belt.
No, because then where's the discipline and the structure? I can love you and still discipline you and give you structure.
When you talk about if you talk about discipline, sitting down talking to you is a way of discipline. Putting
Right.
you in the corner, taking
That's the
away.
way of discipline.
But do I have to physically whoop you for a form of discipline if it's gonna hurt you?
No. Because I
Then that's
always say
that's
when
not love, then, is it?
yeah, I always say when I have kids, I won't do that to my kids. But I
You're not
say
gonna
that now,
you're
but I
not
don't
gonna
have
hurt your
kids
kid.
yet. Yeah, I say that I won't do that to my kids, but I don't have kids yet. So that analogy, is in the air.
Mm. I don't I don't know. It's kind of a hard one. But I would say though, it takes a special type of parent to get smart on the different ways of discipline.
right,
I think we just normally go what we've been taught, which is
right.
to whoop
And
behind.
that's another thing. A lot of us have been taught that love is something outside of action. And then when you get older and you start to grow, then you
What do you mean out?
realize
Hold on. What do you mean outside of action? What do you mean by that?
because as we grow up and we've been taught by our mothers and fathers that, oh well, if I buy you this or if I buy you that, that's love.
Mhm.
But meanwhile, as a parent, that's what you're supposed to do.
Depends on what you talk about. If I'm
If
buying you food, clothes, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
But
If you
anything
buy me
outside of
food,
that,
clothes, and you say you love me, I love you too, but that's what you're supposed to do as my parent.
mm,
But then if
uh-huh.
I decide to go out and go above and beyond, so now we're talking about action. See, we were taught growing up that words was love. But once you get older, you start to realize that your words really not, it means something, but it doesn't mean more than your actions. Because you telling me you love me, but your actions are not showing what your mouth is telling me. It's not adding up.
Mm,
So if I tell you I love you, but I'm disrespecting you, I'm not, communicating with you, I'm not showing you, companionship, I'm not doing none of that. I'm telling you I love you, but do I really love you? Because my action is saying otherwise.
to you,
Right, right. To me,
because
to me.
because that's how you interpret it. Because
Right,
if it's me, and this is how I know how to show it, this is what
right,
I'm showing. This is the best way I know how.
right. And also in a friendship or a relationship, you when you should know that person's love language. And I think that's another thing. We don't take the time to figure out what this person responds to. Because like you just said, I don't respond to the same thing you respond to.
Mm,
And I might not know how to love the way you know how to love. So I can't expect the same thing that I'm giving to you for you to give it to me because that's not how this works. We have two different interpretations on what the word love is and how it should be shown. That's
mm.
why I also disagree with the terminology when people get relationships. When you come with me, you should already know how to love. How can I do something that I've never been taught or that I've never took the time to learn?
Yeah, that's
So
different.
it's like, yeah,
Mm,
so that's why a lot of relationships fail because when you get in relationships with a person, you say you love them and they don't know how to love, and you won't take the time to teach them how to love. Well, you had to take the time to learn how to drive, right? It's
mm,
the same steps.
mm. Do you uh do you think love and in the do you think the love for your family is just in general, not just your family, just in general.
Right.
When we talk about love and family, do you think it's actually love or do you think we just there because it's family? If
I
you
think
just
it's
think generalistic, on how families treat each other and stuff like that, as we're sitting up here talking about love and what we describe in love, you know, I, you can look at your family just as well, but just across different families. You know,
right.
do you think that's something that's really sat down and discussed when we're talking about love amongst families?
No,
Mm,
no. Because when I think about it, like for instance, for my family, it's different generations, right?
hmm
I usually hang with the older generation because of the wisdom and the knowledge. And then you go back, you hear with my generation, it's not the same thing. So I also think that what you said earlier, I think when it comes to family, love is more transactional.
mm.
It's way more transactional when it comes to family.
Talking about what family do for you?
Yes.
Mm. But that's the same thing in romantic relationships. The only reason you stay in a romantic relationship is because of what a person do for you. Because
Right,
if
right,
that person is not doing for you, then that's what makes you love a person.
right,
What that person do, or you just happy. It'd be different if you're just happy to be with somebody.
right,
You're just happy that somebody's be with it. Then, but on here that comes to this topic. You know, self love. how do we apply what love means to self-love?
I believe that self love is something within. That's something that nobody can ever take from you.
But how
Loving
do you
yourself.
develop that? How do you I don't think it's just given to it because
No, no, no.
how do you do that?
I think it's first. I think develop. I think it's developed by self confidence. That's the first thing.
Mhm.
You got to have confidence to love yourself because we're in a world where everybody has something to say about you. But I feel like if you know who you are as a person, if you love yourself, you respect yourself. As long as you honest with yourself, then that's self love. Because everybody's not going to operate the way I operate.
Mm. So as you're talking about it, when you talk about so confidence with yourself, that means, and you say you know yourself, that means as we're sitting up here talking, and I'm telling you, just like I'm listening, telling myself, you telling me that I should know the things that I'm good at and the things that I'm not good at, the
Right,
things that I'm doing right and the things that I'm doing wrong. And I should know that.
right,
It shouldn't take somebody to tell me that. That's what you're saying.
right.
So when somebody tells you something that you're messing up on and you don't take well to it, you think that's a person that's lacking that confidence?
I don't think it lacks confidence. I think it lacks accountability.
Mm.
Because I'm not gonna say 9 times out of 10, but 9 times out of 10, when somebody tell you something that's wrong about you, you know it about yourself, but you just don't want to believe it. And then that goes to self accountability. Because a lot of things, a lot of flaws that people touch on, you see it within yourself and you know it, but you just don't want to be honest with yourself and you don't hold yourself to that standard. And then you got the nerve to say that you love yourself and you respect yourself. Well, if you don't hold yourself accountable and you don't hold yourself to that standard, then do you really love yourself?
Mm. Wow. I know my flaws. I know my flaws. In the Marine Corps, we had this thing that we call know yourself and seek self-improvement. Know yourself and seek self-improvement. So I try to make sure I know exactly where I'm lacking at and how to improve on it. But it's also like I know that. I know what I need to do, you know. But I guess loving yourself is just having that deep feeling for yourself that's unconditional, no matter whether you're good or flawed. And but back into the definition, it talks about you know that God towards humanity. As long as I'm not trying to do wrong by myself and trying to do right by everybody else, I think I still have that self confidence. Meaning that I like I'm not gonna go and try to alter anything about me, because of an image I want to present to somebody else. I just want to do what makes myself happy in the state that I was given. That's just me. I could be wrong. No?
I don't think you're wrong
Mm.
because self self reflection is it should be essential in a person's life. Because if you keep running into the same problem, eventually you know what's the problem.
A lot of times I don't think people know. I don't think people know.
I agree, but then a lot of times I don't think people want to know.
Well, you can't know something if you haven't learned it or somebody ever never brought it to you.
Right. Or you never been taught it, like I said earlier.
Yeah. Mm. So I'm gonna transition a little bit. I do want to talk about this one. I think this is very, very important. So when we talk about in the paper I gave you, it talks about accountability and parental love. Should parents be held accountable for not providing love and support to their kids if they've never been showed how to do it?
I think so.
If they're so they've never been showed it, and you think I should be held accountable?
No, 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 not in that aspect. I thought you was like man, like showing up. I had to listen to the question again. No, because you can't teach somebody something you've never been taught, and I had to learn that, especially in my early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say which parent, but I've had a parent, and I felt that way for years. But then
Mm-hmm.
as I got older, I started to realize they've never been taught that. So how can I be upset with you for trying to teach me something that you've never been taught yourself?
Mm-hmm.
That's self delusion. I want you to teach me something that you've never been taught, but you can't teach me something that you don't know. So then I started to give that parent more leniency. I started talking to them more about, certain things.
It does.
And
Do you think us as kids, when we make that awareness, does it become easier to talk with our parents?
I think so. But it also has to be on the mindset that you have as well. Because a lot of kids blame their parents for not teaching them this or not teaching them that. But then they're not also thinking about my parent didn't know how to do it. Or my parent had me, they were just a kid. Because, people have kids at, younger ages.
Yeah.
So it's like a baby trying to raise a baby. I'm trying to teach you something I don't even know, and I'm still learning. But
Mm,
it's almost like, in that sense, kids want their parents to pass a test that they don't even know the answer to. They don't got a study guide. They don't got a pamphlet. They don't got nothing.
mm.
You can't expect a person to pass a test who've never been taught the information of the test or who've never taken the test themselves. That's not how this works.
Well, you know what you're describing, and I will tell you this, and I don't think people think of it. So, if you really think about it, every generation hope and pray, quote unquote. Let me say this: every generation should have an expectation to make the
Right,
next generation better. So if we are coming to this knowledge and knowing what our parents are not providing us, and we know that at a young age, that means that parent set some foundation to make you smarter than what they was taught.
right,
But I guess that's how do us as kids communicate that though? Because when we talk about, well, I want to say kids, especially that normally happens between 12 and like 17, that middle school to high school age. You're expecting the parents to provide something that's never been provided for them. And you're giving better opportunities. You're giving better, support than that they was given. Like, how do you make, let's, I want to say, I wanted to bring that up because if anybody decides to listen to this, children at that age, 12 to 17, need to understand. And I think that's the importance of learning history.
right,
When you learn history, you learn how to move within the future. Meaning that if you learn your parents' history, if you sit down and talk with them and value where they come from, you'll see where they put you in a position with the resources and the knowledge that they had. So it could be you could be living in a better generation right now, but you're mad because you feel like you could have been 10 times better. But if you look at from where your parents moved to where you move, it is a good step.
right.
How like I just want to make that a point because I don't think kids recognize that.